Hello, welcome back to another episode here, World Series Poker app, how to build a bankroll. A couple quick pointers, try not to make this one too long for you, just having a couple thoughts lately. One is coming to realize that I definitely have a chip addiction, um, and I think they're pretend chips, not real money. It kind of is real money because a lot of folks on here. Obviously, the goal of the World Series poker app, there, the makers of this thing, is to get people to pay actual money for these chips. So in a way, they are kind of way. Um, if you get that winning hand and you win a nice large stack, it is the addictive feeling that keeps us coming back here. So, quick update on what I've been doing here. You can see last time I was on, I was at 230, and I've now built it up to 253. So just kind of going real slow here, slowly building it up, but making progress, and that's the key thing with this app. As I'm sure a lot of folks have discovered, it's so easy to go from a large bankroll down to nothing, like very quick, very quick. I'm sure there are many people that will swear that this app is out to get them on purpose. I mean, we've all experienced some very bad beats on here, or had someone that shouldn't have been in a hand at all, catch that river and just drive you nuts. Step there is accepting that I have a chip addiction, and let's see let's see if a couple quick pointers on how I feed that addiction. I'm developing a strategy here over the last couple days that I think I've always kind of had, but I'm just making a conscious effort with it now as to how I'm going to go forward to try and reach that. My goal is twofold again. One, to reach billion bankroll, and also I want to get the London and Las Vegas ring, which I don't have yet. I have all the rings up to Tokyo, not including the seasonal rings, autumn, fall, summer. I haven't gotten into those yet. These are the two big ones. One, if I can be smart and win these rings, my goal is to not only win the rings, but play it smart so that I keep my winnings. You'll see some folks on here when you play some of these tournaments that have a London ring or even a Las Vegas ring, so that means at one point they had at least 405 million, or they had 2.64 billion, and now they're down to 50 million or 20 million or less, or 100 million or something. Yet they've got the ring, which if you have a ring, again, that means that you've won this tournament at least 5 times. You have to win it 5 times to get a ring, and on your 5th win, when you achieve the win, you actually get double winnings. Your winnings are multiplied by 2. So you see someone that has this ring and that they only have $50 million bankroll. Obviously, they've lost their winnings as they went along the way at some point. So my goal is to get to $1 billion, win these rings, and actually, by the time I get to the Las Vegas ring, hopefully have much more than just one billion, but continue to build it from there. But that's the goal of these series for the moment. So what I've been doing the past couple of days, real quick, my strategy that's been evolving, and it's so far, knock on wood here, it seems to be working. But again, our task is to remain patient, whether in a tournament or on one of the regular tables, and that's not always easy to do once our chip stack starts going down. So I've tried to make an effort of playing the London tournament. I've had to get over my fear of losing the 15 million. If you don't come, real quick refresher for those. On the 15 million, there's 2 tables. In round 1, the first table, there's 9 players, and if you come in first place, you can get your 15 million back. So you don't lose anything. You don't gain anything. You don't lose anything, but you make it on to the second round. And you can see here that if someone wants to spend money, they now have the option. They could just pay, looks like $11.99 here, US dollars, to just buy a spot at the second table. On the first table here, though, if you come in second or third, you do win money, just not the full 15. Third is 6 million, and second is only 9 million. So you get some of your $15 million buy-in back. So what I've been doing, what I did yesterday is I bit the bullet. And first thing I did was I entered a London tournament. I had my bankroll was at 230 million. Might have been 232, but anyway, right in there, 230 million. I entered a tournament. I did not land in the top 3. I think I placed in 5th out of 9. So I lost all of my 15, and I was down to about 215. I was not happy with the way the tournament went, and the emotions took over, and I immediately bought back in. Now, to win some of these rings, sometimes that's how you have to do it. You just, there's obviously there's some skill involved, but also there's some luck involved. And these tournaments, the blinds, all of them, the blinds very quickly. I'm not sure what the exact time limit is. Only 2 or 3 minutes or whatever, maybe even less. I don't know. The lines double, so the blinds quickly climb, and if you're being too conservative and just sitting on the sidelines, the blinds can quickly wipe you out. So sometimes that's just the way it works. You just don't get any. If you don't get any winning cards, you really can't win. There's only so much bluffing you can do and actually get away with it. So the motions took over. I immediately entered the tournament again. Did a little bit better, hung on, and ended up placing 3rd. So I won 6 million back. So that put me at like 206 million. And as of, I don't know, half an hour or 40 minutes earlier, I was at 230, and that's where the emotions really take over and just starts to grind at you. You're like, ugh. So I immediately, which is not necessarily a smart thing to do, especially if you're emotional just coming off the tournaments, is entered one of the tables. And since I had, 24 million or so to make up, the table I've been playing most recently is the 100, 200 million. And on average, you can get a big pot, like a 10 or 15, maybe even a 20 million pot sometimes. But most of your winning hands are in the 2 to 3 million range on this table. So it does take a little bit longer to, I had 24 million I wanted to make in, so probably not the wisest move, but I broke my 10% rule and jumped on the 500 1 million table. And the buy-in here you see is 25 million to 125. I entered with 50, doubled the minimum. So I gave myself time to be patient. Sometimes I've found that if you enter in at the lowest amount, and you play a couple hands, you don't get a good flop or whatever, someone else has been heavy and they've obviously got you beat, and you cop out, you can quickly see that 25 diminish with a $1 million blind each time, really, really quickly, and that can get discouraging. And you see that 25 million buy-in going down, and the emotions can take over pretty quick again, and it causes you to make a bad decision, and boom, before you know it, you're all in and you're all out of that 25 million. And now, instead of being negative 24, now I'm 44 million negative. And that's where it can just, you go on the tilt there, and it just, emotions take over. Now you try to make up the 40, and it just snowballs, and before you know it, you're down to 0, and you just want to delete the app from your device altogether and never play it again. But the addiction takes over, and you come back. So here we are. So what I did is I hopped on there, and I had to be very, very patient. My stack kept going down and down and down. And this is where my strategy of being patient, even though I had to be very conscious of not letting emotions take over. And there were a couple hands where you got like really good pocket cards, like ace king suited or ace queen suited or something. And so I throw in like a $3 million bet pre-flop to try and knock some of the other hands, other players out of the hand. But then you get a bad flop. You got ace queen suited, and a king shows up on the flop with some other cards, and your suit, spades. There's not one spade in there, and then before your turn comes, someone throws out another, $2 or $3 million bet, and that's where it's so easy to call in frustration because you're looking at your great, hand cards, but that's where you gotta fold. You gotta fold in that situation. I mean, you could catch a good turn or a good river and still end up winning the hand, but I'd say 8 times out of 10, you're most likely gonna end up losing that hand, unless you're playing against someone that you watched them for a little bit, you looked at their stats, and they're overly aggressive with their betting. They could still have you beat. They could still, even someone that's ridiculous, a donkey with their betting. They still just like you, same probability of catching a winning hand. They could still have that king in their hand and have you beat. But you kind of generally it's best to fold, be patient, and wait till you're more sure that you indeed have a winning hand. All right, so this is what I did. So I stayed on there, and I stayed on there until I had a good winning hand, and I think I went up to, I can't remember the exact numbers, but I went all the way down to like 42 million, or maybe even into the 30s, like 38 million. And you gotta swallow that panic that starts because you've seen your stack go down and down and down. You still gotta sit in there and just go, okay, I just need to be patient here, and before you know it, I will have a winning hand. And eventually it does come. You have to have the time to do this too, but eventually it does come, and I ended up catching a winning hand, and it brought me back up to like I think 59 million. So I started with my buy-in at 50, so I was positive 9 million. So that put me at about 215. So I immediately got off the table. I was at 215, and I'm one London buy-in away from where I started the day at. So for the rest of the day, I kind of, as time permitted, I got back on the table. I got back on, this time I went back to the 100, 200 table, and I did the same philosophy. I just, as patient as I could be. Here, because it's smaller, you can take a little bit more chances, in that case where you have great pocket cards and you don't get a good flop and someone's betting against you, it's still the best philosophy, the best strategy to fold if you don't have anything. But on these smaller amounts, you could take a bit more of a chance, throw out $1 million bet here and see if you can, bluff your way out through it or something like that. To be able to, tell. So that's why I prefer, staying at or below my 10% buy-in, because if you get that bad beat, it doesn't hurt as much as the bigger tables, and you still got a bankroll to come back and fight another hand. So for the rest of the day yesterday, I stayed on the 100, 200. My buy-in, again, the minimum is 5, so I start with 10. I'm not putting too much money at risk. 10 million, where I'm at, 250 now, or 215 yesterday. After that, at that point, 10 million isn't, do or die. It sucks if you lose the 10 million, but you still got plenty to play with. So pretty much what I did the rest of the day is I stayed on there, patient. Every time I got a good winning hand or got someone to make a bad call against me when I had the win, I would I'd go up to 12 million or 15 million. I'd get off. So throughout the day, I slowly built my way back up until eventually I got up past the 230, and then I actually went above that. I got up to like 237 or something like that, and then I played a couple more hands and started today at 252, and I did the same philosophy, only a little bit more in check today. I entered one London tournament. I came in second place, so I won 9 million. So I was only down 6 million. I think it was down to 240 because I started at 252. I was down to 246, and then I just went on the 100, 200, and was patient, patient, patient until I had a winning hand. I won like 7 million in one hand, and am now up to 253. So actually, a little more than a million ahead of where I started today. So now I could play another London tournament and just do the same thing. And eventually, if I keep this strategy up, eventually I will get to a second table, and then from there, eventually, hopefully, win that first tournament. And once I win one of these Londons, the after the initial $15 million buy-in, your actual profit would be 390 million. And once I do that, then I should be able to afford to, I'll keep the same strategy, trying to build it up, but obviously we'll have a lot more breathing room at that point. So those are my tips. Again, just stay very, very patient when you're on the tables. Bluff. Most people bluff too much. You got to bluff very sparingly. I try to be, if I have good cards, whatever, I like to be aggressive. But if you're big blind and you're in there, just sometimes I've stopped betting as much. Also, I guess that's another tip, another strategy I've incorporated. I used to be way too aggressive and just try and bully my way through a hand, and that will just come. Sometimes a lot of times you can win like that. But it just eventually it bites you in the butt, and you lose a big chip stack, and everyone at the table is very happy that you lost. So that's never a good thing to have all that karma against you. But all right, those are my tips for today. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll hopefully next time we see you, maybe we can be up over that 300 mark. All right, happy playing. Good hands there, everyone.